Welcome to the Oak Chapel. There is a psalm that has been carried in the mouths and memories of people for nearly 3,000 years. Read at deathbeds, read at children's bedtimes, spoken from memory by people who could not quite remember how they came to know it. It is 6 verses long, less than 120 words. And in those few words, it covers a whole life. Pasture, still water, dark valley, the table set at evening, the long road home. The remarkable thing about Psalm 23 is not its length. It is what the psalm refuses to do. It does not argue. It does not explain. It does not persuade. It declares. The shepherd leads. The valley is walked through. The cup runs over. The goodness follows. You may know it by heart. You may have heard it last week or last year, or at a moment in your life that the words came to mean something they had not meant before. You may be hearing it for the first time now. Whatever you bring to it tonight, the psalm does not ask you to bring more. It tells it like this: The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. It is a poem in the voice of a sheep, written by a king who had once been a shepherd. David knew both ends of the picture. He knew what it was to lead, and he knew what it was to be led. The images he chose are the plainest images possible. Grass, water, a path, a valley, a table, a house. Nothing strange, nothing exotic. The same furniture of life that anyone in any century would recognize. And yet, the psalm has been read at deathbeds and children's bedtimes both. Somehow, the same 6 verses can hold them: the hospital and the nursery, the beginning of a life and the end of one. That is not because the psalm is about everything. It is because the psalm is about the one thing that holds across everything. The thing to notice is the tense. Almost everything in Psalm 23 is in present tense. The shepherd leads. The valley is walked through. The cup runs over. The single line in past tense, He restoreth my soul, is the only completed action in the whole psalm. And it is the foundation for everything else. The psalm is not promising future comfort. It is not asking you to wait for it. It is declaring present comfort. The valley is also worth sitting with. The psalm does not say, "If I walk through the valley." It says, "Though I walk." The valley is part of the journey, built in, expected. The promise is not exemption from the dark places. The promise is that the shepherd is in the dark places too. 4 words in the middle of the psalm are doing more work than any others. Thou art with me. Around them, everything else is arranged. The pastures, the water, the table, the house. But the center, the line on which the whole psalm rests, is those 4 words. Thou art with me. That is what the rod and staff comfort. Not the danger of the valley, the aloneness of it, the fear that we walk it alone. The psalm refuses that fear. It does not pretend the valley is easy. It does not pretend the enemies are absent. There is a table, and the enemies are present at it. The psalm does not deny what is hard. It declares what is true alongside what is hard. That is a different kind of comfort than wishing the difficulty away. There is something in Psalm 23 for anyone who has needed to be told that they are not walking alone. It does not require strong faith to receive. It does not require you to be in a green pasture moment. It can be heard in the valley. It can be heard at the table. It can be heard at the door of the house, returning home from a long day. The psalm has been carried by countless people across countless years because it does the one thing comfort needs to do. It stays. It does not leave when the valley is named. It does not turn away when the enemies are mentioned. It walks through. If you are in a green pasture today, the psalm meets you there. If you are in the valley, the psalm walks beside you. If you are at the table, the psalm sits down with you. Wherever the words find you tonight, the shepherd is already in the room. Lord, in the green pastures and in the still waters, in the valleys we walk through and the tables you prepare, be near. The cup runs over. The goodness follows. The house is the one you have already prepared. Amen. Thank you for sitting with us at the Oak Chapel. If this reflection meant something to you, the chapel keeps 3 other doors open: for prayer, for worship, and for celebration. The next story comes next week. Subscribe to follow the journey.